And so one day in a meditation, um, it hit me like a lightning bolt. It was just, I knew who I was. I sat up from my meditation, and the words, I am God, came to me. Buddy told me, or some entity. It was just like this direct knowledge that appeared in my mind. And since then, I've actively pursued this path. And now that I am established in my own being, I try to spread that same truth and happiness that I've discovered for myself.
Great, great. I got more questions. You want to jump in, or should
No,
I?
you can keep
Okay, so
asking.
I am curious, kind of like because there are a lot of different methods that people talk about when they're talking about, say, awakening or enlightenment. Maybe we could start there. I know you did an episode on this. Is there a difference between awakening and enlightenment? Is that kind of what you're pointing to, or maybe you could put some clarification in there on that?
Yeah, and this is a pretty this is a controversial topic because a lot of people have their own definitions of awakening and enlightenment. So I will go ahead and break it down to what I feel is awakening versus enlightenment. Enlightenment is when we catch our first glimpse, so to speak, or finally see. All right, let me create an analogy real quick, one that you guys are probably familiar with. Our true essence is usually likened to that of a cinema screen.
Hmm.
Us, our essence being the TV screen or the cinema screen, and the illusion Maya being the movie. Now, in the beginning, we're lost in the movie. We're exclusively lost in the movie. And we're trying to see the screen. We're trying to see what the guru, the teacher, the book, whatever is pointing to. So enlightenment is when the character in the movie finally gets a glimpse of the screen. That doesn't mean that they've fully made the transition, but now they're aware of it. And during this process, after we've gotten a glimpse of the screen, there tends to still be not, I would say more than most, and there tends to be this back and forth between the movie and the screen. So we've seen the screen, but it feels like sometimes it's either the screen or it's the movie. Now, when one becomes established in their being, there is no more back and forth. You stay, the screen remains, it never changes, only experience changes, or the movie.
One of the factors that stands out to me in this is the idea of experience and method, because people have different methods. It seems like there seems to be a big clash between people that are hyper advocates of like chemical induced stuff. Like there, you can find people that through DMT or some kind of psychedelic are like they'll have tears in their eyes. They'll be like, "I met with God. I'll never be the same again." And oftentimes they're not. There's like a character change. And then there's the side of things where people that are like spiritual practitioners that are like, "Don't be messing around with psychedelics. Do this. Do the like some ritualistic path or something." And then there's the experience side of it, which seems to have different people from their own perspective experiencing enlightenment. There's a lot of similarities, but sometimes there'll be like sort of subtle variations or styles of conveying that message. What do you have to say in terms of method? Like, do you like you talk about the direct path? Why is this direct? What paths shouldn't people take from your point of view? What is the best path, and can you talk about the path?
Sure, definitely. And thank you for the question. So, all paths lead to the creator. So, it doesn't matter if you take a path of substances, the direct path, the progressive path. But I will say that I do believe that this is the age for the direct path. Now, I'll specifically talk about the two main paths just because they're the most two that people travel. Um, so what I teach is the direct path, which is where we skip, we don't, we give our attention exclusively to ourselves. We turn away completely from the world and give all of our attention to ourselves. Now, in a progressive path, somebody would do a set of practices like a mantra or purifying the body. They would do a series of practices and things to purify both the mind and the body to bring it to a greater state of coherence so that they could better understand the teaching. But it's not necessary. You don't have to do shadow work. You don't have to embrace your inner child. You don't have to do anything. In fact, one of my favorite things to teach is nothing. I call it do nothing Zen. You don't need to do anything to recognize who you are. You already are who you are, which is awareness. You can't, if I were to tell you to take a step towards yourself right now, where would you go? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So no effort that we make can actually bring us closer to our true essence. But if we feel and believe that we are a separate entity, aka the ego, I call it the separate self, the one that feels separate from other beings, animals, plants in the world, then we should investigate into that matter. And it doesn't matter if we take the progressive path, if we take the direct path. The progressive path is just slower, and it may be even I use, for some students, progressive path means within the direct path. It's not a structural, this teaching is not a structural thing. I don't have a list of things I have written down. Every time I come into a session with a student, every time I meet somebody, everything comes straight from the space. Whatever needs to come through, I invite that space and that information to flow through me. So it's tailored to each person and by the moment. I just feel like we are ripe for the direct path. We don't need to spend 40 years meditating on our breath to recognize who we are. We can go directly to our essence and stay there. We just have to taste it first.
It seems like some people are more ripe for it than others. Like I love the style that you're talking about in terms of like conveying it the way you do. Lately I've been watching a lot of Adyashanti and Gangaji, and I love the calm. Man, I'm frantic classically on this show. I'm frantic and ranty and tangenty. But I love the calm demeanor and the simple message of, I think even you've said it, awareness becoming aware of awareness. Like that's the good stuff. If you can get to some place where you're, even if it's a delusion, you're in the zone of awareness, aware of awareness, and your mind is calmed the hell down and your body's not frantic and poisoned by toxins. It's like, it can be beautiful already. So I just wanted to say that. And then but there's a mystery here because the things I mentioned were states of being very physical. Like meditation has been pretty proven by this point to be like, in a healthy sense, like beneficial. Like you can improve your physiology, it seems, with meditation, and your mind can go from a distressed state to like a peaceful state with meditation and yoga and some of these practices. But the thing that that you mentioned at the beginning, this happiness that everybody's really after at the end of the day, that still eludes me. Something where you can now say experience, the thing that everybody seems to unanimously claim, like at the end of the day it's an experience. Like, I am the projector light. I know from whence I came. I know who I am. I'm God. That seems to be the trickiest point of it all. You can get through guided meditation or hypnosis or all kinds of things, people into something where they walk out and you get them hooked. I'm hooked on guided meditations. They're peaceful as anything. But the mystery at it, it can be frustrating. You got to have patience with us mortals, because you can cause frustration when it's like, what is it? I can't honestly say I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. I'm God. That's the core of it. The big gestalt is the one that people have trouble. What can you tell us? Help us here.
I understand your confusion, and it is frustrating, because what we're being told is saying something that we already are, and yet we're not experiencing it. So meditation is the only non-practice practice that I recommend, because meditation is not what you do, it's what you are. So when we get into a state of meditation, whether or not it's formally sitting down and closing your eyes, or standing up, walking around, doing our daily activities, being in that state is what matters. Now, meditation, like I said, isn't the act of sitting down, eyes closed, legs crossed. Meditation is the relaxation of your attention. So the reason why we can't see ourselves clearly is because we're too busy giving our attention to objects. And meditation is the relaxation of that attention. It's the return of the source of attention back into ourselves. And the more and more we return to that peaceful place within us, that non-objective place, if you're in meditation and you're focusing on an object, or you're getting carried away with thoughts and feelings and emotions, that's not meditation. Meditation is often heard and thought of to be a focusing of our attention. It's not. It's the cessation of attention. It's the returning of it. We want to return our attention back to ourselves awareness. Be aware of awareness. Now, a way to help our own process in meditation, to help become more aware, is acceptance, no expectations, and no resistance. If you expect something out of your experience, or you resist something out of your experience, then you're not being who you are. Imagine the space in the room you're in right now. All right. Does the space in the room say, these people can come in here and these objects can come in here, but I don't like this guy's hair, he can't come in here? No, the space by nature, kind of like your true nature, is acceptance. It naturally allows and accepts any and all experience that may arise to happen, whether it's quote unquote good, bad, sad, angry, violent, whatever. It just lets it be. So when we get into our meditation, essentially we want to be that space. If our thoughts are aggravated, let them be aggravated. If we're having emotions or tensions in the body, just be aware of it, sit with it, because it's our resistance to any objects or objective experience, or our expectations from it, like, oh, I just want happiness, or oh, I just want my kundalini pineal gland to pop through my fifth eye, like something crazy. If we just let go of all of these things and just rest in our own being, then everything that needs to happen will happen exactly the way it's supposed to.
But that sounds like the mindset of just a person that's not effed up and traumatized. Like, you know what I mean? Like the seed of truth falls on scattered lands, and some people it grows into an oak. And then some people, like, do you ever encounter, you know, because you're a teacher, like some of us seem to just need like 1,000 lessons. Like, I'm back again. Like, you know, I had it and I lost it and I was peaceful and it's gone. Um, like, I'm happy to see people such as yourself springing up in culture that can guide others through this stuff. But the thing that they seem to rest on is like, if I just wasn't clouded by like trauma and ego and stuff like that, this is like obviously a peaceful, pleasant state of being. It's like objective and not frantic and not aggressive, and that is alluring. Like, it's enticing, and like, why is it that copying you doesn't work? Why is it that people not just aping that, like seeing, okay, this guy's not like insulting everybody like a egomaniac, like I'm just gonna be like that because it's a better way to be? Why do we keep returning to the nonsense? Like, those of us that have had a taste of pleasantness, why do we return back to the chaos? And how do you combat? Do you struggle with that?
There, okay. There's two things you said.
Sorry.
No, this is perfectly fine. That I just wanted to bring up. I will suggest that for some people, it is a little bit easier to grasp because they are energy that has more experience. When we incarnate on Earth, we have to forget. We go through what's called the veil of forgetting. You have to forget who you truly are and your past life experiences. You come in handicapped. Some of us leave little trinkets and golden threads to follow back. But I can only chalk it up to other souls, if we want to use that word, having more experience than others. So somebody who's already opened up their heart chakra and decided to return to Earth will have an easier time catching the ball, so to speak. As long as they're looking in the right direction, they'll be able to catch the ball. Now, for somebody who's never ever touched these matters, who's never explored the self, it's going to be confusing. It's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a little bit harder to grasp. That doesn't mean that they can't still excel and move just as much as the next person, but they haven't had the experience. So experience matters. Other thing I wanted to say was the back and forth. You said that a lot of the times that, you know, a lot of us have these awakenings, and this is true. A lot of people do have awakenings, and this actually digs into my experience a little bit. I had an enlightenment experience, but I didn't become fully awakened until earlier this year. So I got my glimpse through the direct path and the law of one, but as I consistently devoted myself, surrendered, and pursued this, I mean, literally from the time I tasted that peace you were talking about, I searched for it every single day. From the time I woke up till the time I went to sleep, I lived and breathed God. I had my nose, my eyes, and ears in God all the time, meditating once a day, twice a day. How much we devote ourselves, our will, and faith in this path has a big impact on the fruits of our labor. The more you give your attention to yourself, and I mean you, awareness, not the body or the mind, the more and more of what needs to happen will happen. So what happens a lot of the times is, what I think is, some people have this awakening, they get this glimpse, they go, oh, I know who I am, or I've learned who I am, I'm done, that's it.
Hmm.
And then they just go on, continue living, but then they're not happy, unhappiness arises.
Hmm.
It's because we can have an awakening without truly knowing who we are. So awakening is kind of just opening up the heart center. And there's a lot of people that have, you can open up your heart center and not even know it. And there's plenty of people walking around being ready to graduate to fourth density and they don't even know it. But to know who you are experientially as awareness is a whole nother question. To be able to see the screen and keep it at all times, that is where our happiness lies. And until we remain as the screen, happiness will feel like it will elude us. It'll feel like a state that comes and goes.